Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini-games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Most tax pros leave a message.
It's Jane. I'm moving on to a TurboTax expert who beat your price. Adam Devine, tell him how I feel.
Hey, tax pro, she's been thinking twice. Best believe TurboTax will beat your price. This is a tax break.
Switch to a TurboTax Live expert and we'll beat what you paid your pro last tax season. Make the switch at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice. TurboTax full service only. Sign up by 12/20/2024 and file by 4/1/2025. Full details at TurboTax.com/beatyourprice.
Teddy's father works for the State Department, so a coroner's inquest was held due to the unusual circumstances surrounding the accident.
And did the inquest come up with anything unusual?
No, but the county medical examiner called me afterwards. He was disturbed by this case and by this photograph, and I think with good reason. You see, this is a helium balloon here, and the one thing I did learn in kindergarten is when you let them go, they float up, up, and away. But you see, this is moving away from him, horizontally.
Did you learn about wind in kindergarten?
Hello, and welcome to the X-Files. Kristin, we're almost at the end of season 2, and I feel like I really haven't one single time executed the beginning of the intro in a pacing that feels correct.
Wow, really? I feel like you're usually right on the same mark, and every once in a while, like today, when you're not, I'm like, is everyone going to be okay? You know, like they all are used to the hello. And so when, like, if I'm editing you and you're like, hello, I'm always personally concerned, even though I'm right here with you and I know you're okay. But I think whatever way you do it is right, Jenny. That's the way of the world.
I'm going to just try it again to get into the correct groove.
So for them, or we're just going to scrap everything?
For them. No. It's for everyone. Okay. Everyone, close your eyes. The intro you just heard has been reduced to holy ash, and now we begin afresh. Hello, and welcome to the X-Files. That's the eX-Files, a buffering rewatch adventure where we're watching and discussing every episode of the X-Files one by one, spoiler-free. I don't want any ice cream. I want a balloon. My balloon. I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, ex-wife of Kristin Russo, and I grew up watching the X-Files.
Get out of my house. I am Kristin Russo, ex-wife of Jenny Owen Youngs, and
Scenes from a marriage.
I've only ever seen 45 episodes of the X-Files. Jenny said we're getting close to the end of the season, but like my brain is still set where the longest a season can ever be is 22 episodes long, because that's how long every season except for season 1 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is. This particular season is 25 episodes long. So we're at 21, season 2, episode 21. We're talking about the Calusari. But I just have to say, this is more episodes than I've ever watched in a season of television. We've got a lot.
So many. It's so many episodes.
So many.
What's incredible is that the quality never fails and the season's very even all the way through.
Who wrote this, Jenny? Oh my God.
Oh my
woman.
gosh.
Okay, woman.
Call me old-fashioned, but women television writers? The Calusari was written by Sarah Charno, directed by Mike Vehar, and originally aired on April 14th, 1995. I can't believe it. Oh, a woman, a lady, a
wild.
female.
According to IMDb, this is the one where the agents, you've heard of them, investigate when a young boy's family is plagued by a series of tragic accidents. Biggest thing missing from this episode, in my opinion, is someone saying, "This house is clean." You know, I would have really liked that for a little.
There is no
rap.
nice, tidy.
No, it's actually unsolved. It's not to spoil the ending, guys. But
it's over for now.
For now.
But it knows your face.
Fuck. It's like a fucking magpie,
Kristin.
right? Those are the birds.
Look out for that. Exactly.
Yeah, like a crow or a magpie or an evil dead twin. Woo. Listen, LaToya and I love to get into fist fights, not really, but with our emotions when we disagree with scary rankings. I disagree with LaToya's scary ranking for this, and I'll explain why after Jenny tells you what LaToya's scary ranking is.
Yeah, let me tell you everything. Special agent and producer LaToya Ferguson gives this episode a 2.2 out of 5 problems with the wiring. She says, even at this point in the 90s, the whole evil-ass kid thing had been done to death in horror. Then the evil twin twist wasn't reinventing the wheel at all, especially since the show had just done an evil twin twist in the previous episode and had also done evil, quote, twins, end quote, better in Eve. I can see how the opening teaser in this episode would feel scary if you're unaware of the obvious influences of The Omen and The Exorcist, which are 2 movies I still very much consider scary, and think this episode suffers from not committing / just ripping them off more. Maggie singing 10 in the bed in the bathroom stall actually had all the makings of an innocuous song actually ending up being spooky, which is where the 0.2 came from. But the pig mascot at the amusement park was actually the scariest part of it, and gets the added 1.0 with its big-ass dead eyes. Seeing the mascot again in the photo really made me feel ill at ease. Kristin.
Mm-hmm.
It's me, Jenny, again.
Hi.
No longer
voicing, yes, LaToya.
For LaToya. What do you think is the best innocuous song being repurposed as a genuinely creepy, eerie thing?
Oh, like just generally?
Yeah, in film or television.
The first thing that came to my mind, honestly, was Pop Goes the Weasel, and I don't know where that's from, except for like the episode of the All the Way Halloween episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But for some reason,
they took my toys.
For some reason, like dun 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 dun, and maybe it's just the like inherent suspense that's built into that song, which is what like made like something will come flying at your face at an unexpected moment when you hear that song. But then I think my pick has to be the Freddy Krueger 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, 3, 4, which Jenny let me know is actually based on 1, 2, Buckle My Shoe, but is also sung as just like a children's song in the movies. And there's lots of children in white dresses jumping rope. There's always like a fucking empty tricycle rolling away, sometimes leaving 3 wheel marks of blood behind.
A lot of people don't know that's actually Jigsaw's tricycle.
Who? Wait, who?
Jigsaw from Saw.
Oh.
Apostrophe SAW.
Jenny, what's yours?
I'm gonna go with Tonight You Belong to Me as utilized in American Horror Story.
Oh, I've never seen American Horror Story was once too scary for me. I bet you I'm brave enough now.
Oh, for sure. Now that you've endured so much, I think you could totally watch American Horror Story. There's probably some seasons that you should watch and some seasons that you shouldn't.
Okay.
You could start with the original flavor with Mrs. Coach Tammy Taylor.
Season 1, like the very first, yeah.
Yeah, and I would go ahead and skip Asylum because,
yeah.
And then you would probably want to watch Coven.
Okay. Avanti's going to love this. Avanti hates horror, and all we ever do now is watch horror. But I will say that just like most people who hate horror, once you're in, you're fucking in. And so like she just can't stop. She's like, when do we get to watch season 2 of From? Let's go. Let's fucking go. Scare the shit out of me.
Avanti wants to be scared.
We all do, deep down. Except for LaToya.
Except for LaToya.
Oh, so back to LaToya.
I
Yes.
agree with LaToya here that 10 in the bed has enormous potential.
Yes. I agree with all of LaToya's points added. Like the pig is terrifying. The 10 in the bed is especially terrifying. But I personally, like my brand of horror is anything that doesn't involve massive body horror. Like I can deal with like, you know, some gore and some guts or whatever. But once it crosses a line, Saw being a franchise I've not seen because I was pretty sure it would cross that line, I'm out. And the other thing in the top of my list that I cannot watch is Possessions. I have seen The Exorcist. I have seen The Omen. It doesn't matter if it's an exact replica being done again. It will never lose its impact on me. I am afraid of things I feel could happen to me. And I think my arm could be ripped off my body. And I think a demon could possess my soul. I went to high school and watched Days of Our Lives during the Marlena years when she was possessed. It's deep in my psyche. And I'm always trying to ward off any kind of spirit that wants to take up residence in my body. So I don't want it.
Yeah, this is an anti-spirits taking up residence in your body podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Spirits, stay away.
Yeah, you can hang out. You can even hang out next to me, but just don't come in here. Not in here, please. Please.
Thank you.
No consent. I'm not giving my consent for possession. Thank you very much. So this would be high on my list. This was one of the harder episodes for me to watch because I will never watch The Exorcist again unless someone makes me for a job. I won't do it.
Oh, noted.
Anyway, big thoughts, Jenny, on this episode?
Even though this is sort of like Exorcist Omen light, I did think it was very effective. I was creeped out. It might be because Charlie/Michael looks like the child version of my friend Andrew. So that was a little disturbing on a kind of rolling basis. Oh, the other thing I should say is that like I'm 100% like not in the market for anything involving like babies and toddlers dying.
Yeah. Once they get to 8 or 9, you're fine. Just no toddlers.
Just any child that's like older enough than my child for me to be like, that's not the same thing.
Right.
It's fine.
So please do not put any gorillas who know sign language or toddlers in your episodes of television if any harm is to come of them, because both of those will impact Jenny in the same horrific way.
Also, don't kill the dog. No,
never
killing
kill
dogs.
the dog. Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that like something's happening to me with my expectations of the X-Files and then my feeling of satisfaction after watching the X-Files. I don't know. Something's happening. I'm going to read because LaToya put Emily St. James does some. We've read Emily St. James's reviews in here before, and I think that this is the critical analysis of this seems really on point. So let me read this first. This is from the Complete Critical Companion to the X-Files. And Emily says, compare the Calusari to Sarah Cherno's earlier episode this season, Aubrey. That was the 12th episode of this season. And you'll find they have one big problem in common. Both land on ultimately nonsensical theories meant to explain their paranormal phenomena. Each episode overcomplicates when it could simplify. The theorizing of the true nature of evil seems misplaced, like the show is biting off giant hunks of philosophy it has no intention of chewing. If Hitler was evil because of an evil ghost twin, that certainly explains something, but the references to real-life evils feel cheap and insensitive, like the show was worried viewers wouldn't invest in what's ultimately a small-scale family story about a very bad son. This is yet another episode where Mulder and Scully are mostly just tourists, a flaw that this has in common with Aubrey. And this is really the crux of it. Episodes that toss too much information at the audience tend to feel disjointed, and the Calusari is no exception. But the fact that the story is always galloping forward at a breakneck pace makes it easier to ignore just how often it changes focus. If you let go of hoping for this one to make any sense, then you might just be convinced by its charms, LaToya notes. That last sentence is a true key for a lot of the X-Files, isn't it? And it made me think, like, perhaps, because, like, I'm not trying to really reason out too much in this episode. I'm kind of just here for the ride. And it was a fun ride for me. Like, there were jump scares. There were things that like really got their hooks in me. I really liked the Calusari themselves. Like, I really thought that those three guys were doing exactly what those three guys were here to do. And, we'll talk about the mom a little bit because LaToya, I think, had some really astute notes about how like her character is sort of just like in nowhere land in terms of like her motivations, which is a weak point. But the kid was creepy as fuck, The kid fucking rocked. He rocked at being exercised. He rocked at being, angry at his little brother. There were just things I felt like he did really well. And I was scared. And I had a good time. And, I love any episode where Scully comes face to face with the paranormal. I'm like tallying on my fucking board over here. Like, she just saw the mom, Maggie, up against the wall, floating in air, exactly like Winona Ryder in the original Beetlejuice. And she has to reckon with that. She saw a boy with a knife above her who then disappeared. She got thrown through the fucking air. You know what I mean? So I love an episode where Scully has to believe a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that she'll never refer back to this episode ever again.
She's like, it was all just the wind. It was the wind and maybe a tornado.
It was the wind.
So we open the episode at an amusement park called Lincoln Park, not to be confused with the band, very different spelling, Lincoln Park. And a father has gotten 4 ice cream cones for 2 adults, a 9-year-old and a toddler. It just seems like a lot of ice cream cones. He has not nearly enough napkins. None of these cones have little cups for the children. This is a mess. Not only do these parents seem to overestimate what their children can do with ice cream, but also, do you tie a balloon around a small child's wrist? This is basic math, and it existed even in the 90s. No toddler is going to keep a hold of a balloon string.
Yeah, okay. Let's take one diversion at a time. Okay. The ice cream cones. Steve has 3 ice cream cones. So is the idea 1 for Teddy, 1 for Charlie, and 1 for Steve and Maggie to share?
Oh, he only has 3? The reason I was so upset is because I thought he had 4, and I was like, this is a lot, friends.
I think that he had 3, although,
Yeah.
I could have been so distracted by seeing ice cream that I was like, what is math? I only know
I just want ice cream.
But okay, so the deal is that Teddy lets go of his balloon, which means he no longer wants his ice cream because he's upset.
Mm-hmm.
All he wants is his balloon back. Steve takes Charlie's balloon and gives it to Teddy.
Right. Well,
And then they just decide, no, that was a waste. Because Charlie is like, I don't want ice cream. I want my balloon back.
And then nobody's gonna.
And so we just throw out all the ice cream.
Yeah.
I could be just out of frame.
Jenny,
right?
Yes. And I don't know why I feel so dedicated to getting the narrative arc of this toddler so correct. Maybe it's because
he's with us for so short a time.
So short. But he actually, I don't think, gives a fuck about the balloon at first. He lets go of the balloon. And this is what I love about Maggie. She says, oh, off it goes to Balloon Land. And I was like, what a great framing for helping this child not be sad. Then he falls, and he falls on his ice cream smashes on the floor, and he's crying because his ice cream smashes on the floor. And they're like, here, they just yank the balloon away from Charlie, and they're like, have your brother's balloon. It'll be fine. So then he has an attachment.
They had so much ice cream. They could have just given him one of the other ice cream cones.
Exactly. Anyway, oh no, you're right, Jenny. The dad throws all 3 ice cream cones away. So there are 3.
Okay. Glad we've got
This is going to be a long episode, kids.
Inventory.
We gotta inventory every treat on the show. One by one.
Then Maggie has to pee. Predicament of parents across the globe. The modern horror of having to take your toddler into a public bathroom. I am of the school not possessing a toddler leash, and also being maybe too afraid, even before I saw this episode, to ever consider using one for any reason. I am of the become the octopus you want to see in the bathroom school of thought, which is bring toddler into stall, pee while simultaneously preventing toddler from touching anything in the stall, while the toddler's number one priority is touching everything in the stall.
This is how I've seen it done most
yeah,
often.
It's complicated. It's not easy. I wouldn't like wish it on someone, but it's what has to be done, alas. Oh, also, I recently was in a public bathroom. Kristin, this rocked so fucking hard, and I have only seen it once and never again, and probably never will again. I was in a bathroom, and there was a little, basically like essentially just the top part of a high chair, sort of a seat with a seat belt. Bolted
on the door
to the side of the stall.
Yep,
it's
I've
just like,
seen
here's
this.
a seat for your child.
I've seen this.
To be strapped in briefly while you pee.
You know what? They care. They care.
There should be more.
Yes.
They should be everywhere.
When Teddy is sort of like linked around this bathroom sink and mom is peeing, he lets go of the balloon. And one of the scariest moments I had in the episode was when she peeks under the door to check on him, because I knew something bad was going to happen. Like, it's just like built in that, you know, something bad is happening. And so like my mind did not clock that this was the mom checking on him. I thought it was like somebody coming from below the sink at first. It really, really scared me. But
wow,
she's doing a great job. She's doing a great job. He should not have been able to get out of this harness. Not only that, but she's singing a song to keep him engaged. She's checking under the door. No one else is in the bathroom. Everything should be fine.
She's singing Roll Over, Roll Over.
Yeah.
But alas, something liberates Teddy from his harness and lures him out of the door with a balloon. My number one note for this, like what occurs next, I have like a couple of notes for what occurs next. Teddy follows the balloon onto the like mini train tracks. The train brakes jam, and then he is struck by the train and killed. Here are some things I'd like to talk about. How is it that a toddler who, you know, seems relatively new to walking, he's like taking it slow, is able to get so far away that no adult can get to him before? Sorry, I'm laughing. It's just the physics leave something to be desired, or the math or whatever. And then how fast do we think one of these little mini trains is going? Like
that's
10
that
miles
was
an
my
hour?
question is like, this is a little kid, but also I just feel like, you know, maybe a scrape, maybe a broken bone even, but it just feels like, oh my God, could a child amusement park train really like run over a child this way? Because the train doesn't, it's not like the train like jumps the track. The train's just like still going. Like how, what? So canonically, Teddy is fine, everyone. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the episode,
He's on a nice ranch in Montana.
Yeah. So, this is awful. Both mom and dad are on the tracks. Charlie is looking over at them so evilly, and the balloon just like comes down behind him. There's a bit of a disjoint in this, but let's just get to Michael before we talk about it all. All right.
Kristin, you know how sometimes villains are queer coded?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot actually. Yeah.
Charlie's like really attached to this like pink balloon. What do you think? What do you think of my theory?
Yeah. Any villain is inherently some kind of queer, you know. So, It's actually Michael who's probably queer. Michael's
right.
Yeah.
Didn't we? Yeah, we were just talking about the dark half because of the episode that immediately precedes this one, which shares a lot.
Yeah.
With the plot. Okay, cool.
Okay, so the next scene has two important, notable moments for eX-Files watchers, listeners, etc. It begins with a slideshow. We're not even in Mulder is a traveling slideshow. We're not even in Mulder's office. We're like at this other guy's place who, and this is where you get the second, is the king. I have written Chuck, the king of digital imaging. Chuck designed the software. Chuck literally says the word enhance.
Holy
Focus, focus, get it into focus. Enhance, enhance, enhance. A simple incantation to bring illumination. Enhance, 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 enhance.
I was like, wow, we're really back. We got a slideshow. We got a jingle coming. We also have Scully. I don't think Scully realized that this episode would have an evil twin and a creepy child in it because she works so fucking hard to get Smuggest Bitch in this episode. Like, she really, really works for it.
But it's not going to happen.
It's not
It could
gonna
never
happen for
happen,
her.
Dana.
But like, let's hear just the conversation. Mulder's sort of introducing the situation, and he's explaining something to Scully. Scully is putting her first point on the board for Smug Bitch at the end of this clip.
Teddy's father works for the State Department, so a coroner's inquest was held due to the unusual circumstances surrounding the accident.
And did the inquest come up with anything unusual?
No, but the county medical examiner called me afterwards. He was disturbed by this case and by this photograph, and I think with good reason. You see, this is a helium balloon here, and the one thing I did learn in kindergarten is when you let them go, they float up, up, and away. But you see, this is moving away from him, horizontally.
Did you learn about wind in kindergarten?
Zing! Gotcha, Mulder.
Do you think he learned about wind in kindergarten?
Well, he immediately, it's like he knows. I think that Mulder now reads his monologue through before he delivers it to Scully, and he just circles in red pen like any of the parts where he knows she's going to be like, well, it might be something logical.
Right.
Because he
has gone ahead and called the National Weather Service and gotten their weather report from 3 months ago. The wind was blowing north. The balloon is moving south. And then look, Scully, if we alter this photo by using Burke's software that he designed and we say enhance, 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 a ghost appears.
Don't you think that Chuck would be a really great fourth lone gunman?
Yeah, I think he could hang with those guys.
There were like a couple of moments where I was like, he's not one of them, right? Like, I think I know the three of them well enough already, but like he really has like that
He does
vibe.
kind of look like if you put all three of them together.
Yeah.
Scully's like, so you're saying a ghost killed Teddy? And the look on Mulder's face is just straight up, yeah. Obviously, yes.
Mulder is really like, we are in season 2. This is the 21st episode, Scully. Do you fucking know what the X-Files are? Like, why are you surprised every time?
Do you know which files you're in?
Yeah. He goes, and he explains that, like, also the kid got out of the harness and this is impossible. And he says, unless the kid is a reincarnation of Houdini, which, hey, it's still a fucking X-File. So no matter which way you slice it, Scully, this is a file that belongs to us.
Oh my God.
Okay, so the next scene is that the whole...
The way that this kicks off, it's like Mulder and Scully roll up and like, uh-oh, an old woman lives here. Ah!
We love anyone standing on the second floor of a house looking down at Mulder and Scully when they drive
Totally.
up. It's definitely one of my favorite things. You know, if I had been a lover of the show before watching it, I might have suggested we count that too, because it happens a lot and it's fun.
Yeah, well.
Something that is incredibly jarring to a viewer is also that when we pull up at this house, we see this very like beautiful stained glass piece hanging in the window, and it is an image, a rendering of a swastika. I was actually sitting next to Avanti the first time we watched this, and she was like, "Well, you know that image is really important in Indian culture. It's you know a very like good thing, and it's still used and whatever." And I had in my mind, like I had always known, of course, that this symbol had origins well before it was appropriated, just full out appropriated by Nazis. But just to give folks a little bit of background into this symbol, the arms of this can go one of two ways. And both of these were ancient religious and cultural symbols predominantly found in various Eurasian cultures, as well as in some African and American cultures. The arms on the swastika that we recognize as very bad and appropriated by the Nazis actually go the opposite way of the one we see here. But regardless, both directions are still rooted in good and rooted in a place of divinity and spirituality in Indian religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and others, and it usually takes the form of a cross. Even the word comes from the Sanskrit, which is taken from a meaning that's something like conducive to well-being. And in Hinduism, the right-facing and the left-facing are called different things and symbolize different things. And so this, I mean, all this to say, I'm sure that there are entire podcasts dedicated to the origins of this symbol and then the appropriation of this symbol. We see this symbol, and most of us here in the Western world since World War II have associated it with Nazis and neo-Nazis and the Holocaust and all of these horrific things. But this was a symbol that was appropriated from other cultures by Nazis. And so, it's important to know that. And we learn that here. But this is real. And there's actually, if you wiki it, you can see variations on it, and the variation that we see here with the dots in each quadrant is one of the variations that's shown on this landing page. So. And it's still used. It's still used in these cultures. It hasn't been, abandoned by some of these cultures that have used it for so long. Jenny, you also mentioned the old woman. I think it's important to bring up. LaToya points out in her notes, why do they refer to this woman whose name is
Grandma Golda,
whose name is Golda, as the old woman? And I knew that they did this, but I read LaToya's note before I did my second watch, and I was like, oh my God. They literally only exclusively refer to her as the old woman. LaToya says, this is incredibly disrespectful. Is this a white person thing? And honestly, probably. Yeah, I'm going to just take ownership of that. I feel like there's generally less respect for elderly people in maybe this culture, and specifically by white people. But either way, this is fucked up. It's also fucked up that they they're literally this lady looks a little creepy. She's has a hood around her head and is standing in the window. She doesn't speak any English, and so clearly she's the top suspect. Mostly ignoring the mom completely, and the dad barely is on the radar. It just is. Yeah, guys, come on, do a better job.
Yeah, this honks. Mulder's trying to bring the Holvies in. Ooh, anybody? Can you think of anybody who might want to hurt Teddy? Scully walks in on Grandma Golda painting a swastika on Charlie's hand.
Right. And that's Mulder's before she eventually also learns the history of the symbol, but this is before that. So I think she's what is
so
happening?
She's ugh. Mulder asks the family if there were any weird occurrences around the house during the time of the accident. And right on cue, the smoke detector goes off, and then the lights cut out. And Maggie's like, whoa, it's an old house.
The smoke detector going off.
Wacky wiring.
I have the smoke detector. A smoke detector goes off in all of our homes, because both times that this happened in the show, we were both Avanti and I were both it feels like it's in your house when the smoke detector goes off. And also, please don't skip over the fact that Charlie walks down before the smoke alarm goes off and looks at the fireplace, and it erupts into flames to the response of no one. No one says anything about the magical fire that just happened in the fireplace, but okay. Golda comes down, and she's speaking in Romanian, and so two things about the Romanian language. One, usually, and LaToya said this in her notes, usually when you get a language that is not the primary language of the show, you have subtitles to help you understand what the person is saying. We get none of that. And also, if you are an FBI agent and you have 5 people living in a house, 2 children, a mom, a dad, and a grandma, and the grandmother speaks almost no English, speaks Romanian, do you not simply get a Romanian translator in to speak to this woman?
That is a gigantic point, and so it's so weird. Unless they're flying under the radar, and doing this without Skinner's knowledge. And I could see them having
Every
a
time
harder time
Skinner
getting a
comes down to
translator.
Mulder's office, it's just empty. And he's like, what do they do all day?
I read the lack of subtitles for the Romanian as like a deliberate, the audience of this show at the time, I'm going to guess primarily English speaking, at least like in the early seasons. And I feel like they were deliberately not giving us subtitles to keep us out of the loop in the same way that Mulder and Scully are out of the loop and don't know what's being said. Because I feel like a lot of the stuff that Golda and the Calusari and little Michael in the smoke are all saying, like, that would have given us a lot more context and sort of like stripped a bit of the suspense and mystery that they were trying to build and maintain out.
So you're saying if we understood what was happening in the Romanian culture, we might not be so afraid?
That's exactly
Interesting
what I'm saying,
point. Okay, so Golda does say, you marry a devil, you have a devil child. And we'll get more of this story from Dad later. But essentially, like, maybe just to touch on the arc here that the family is in, this dad met the mom, Maggie, in Romania and wanted to marry her. And her mom, Golda, was like, absolutely fucking not. And Maggie said, absolutely fucking yes. And she married him and she left Romania and she came to America. And with that, also left behind all of her Romanian traditions and what is referred to in this episode by both Maggie and other folks as superstitions, but are like, deep parts of this Romanian culture. And so that was, I'm sure, devastating for Golda and terrifying for Golda because these rituals and practices have so much meaning. But then when Teddy was born, she came to live with them. And since then, both kids have been getting sick a lot, which, of course, is because of the whole other arc of this story. She's just trying to protect them. But, sometimes mugwort doesn't go down so easy, I don't even know if that's true, but that's what the show is telling us, right? They've been digesting mugwort since Golda's been here.
Do you think any of the vomiting, etc., might possibly be due to
possession
or just interference by Michael?
Yeah, could be. It's unclear because is Michael possessing Maggie at the end? Like, is he in her then speaking?
Kristin. Oh, what are you looking for answers? I mean, it's all over the place.
Okay. Wow. I'm so excited, Jenny, because Scully is in Mulder's office and she's learning about this symbol. She's learning how it's used for protection. And she says, I agree. I think the boy could use as much protection as he can get, but not from ghosties or beasties. And now I'm like, oh, maybe Scully and I can develop a friendship after all, because she says ghosties and beasties. I never, ever thought that she would, but she does.
I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it when I heard it.
Right? Her opinion is Munchausen by proxy because she sees that the kids have been getting sick a lot. And this is sort of like her theory. The old woman would be a likely candidate, but it could be any family member. Okay.
Kristin, let me take you away from all this. Let me take you to the most dimly lit office in the entire State Department and possibly the world. What kind of an vibe is Steve Holvey trying to cultivate in his office? I feel like I'm attending a seance.
Yeah. Maybe he has some of his own practices that he gets up to,
Yeah, and that's why he and Golda clash so much.
Yes, exactly. He tells them about all of the various superstitions, here's that word, that rule Golda's life. She spits when anyone compliments the kids. She pours boiling water over the threshold to keep out evil spirits. She ties a red string around their wrist. This is real. This is many cultures practice this, but I read a Reddit post from somebody who is Romanian, and who the Reddit post was kind of enjoyable because they were like, "Listen, I'm Romanian, and our parents always put red strings around our wrists. Do you know why? Does anyone know why?" And one of the answers was like, "You could ask your parents," but but in all seriousness, a piece of red string around the wrist is used by several cultures as protection against the evil eye. Many Romanians put it on the wrists of their children for protection. So this is also a correct telling. I assume, if you are Romanian and or have more information, always write to us at hello@bufferingcast. But we sort of get the first little glance at Golda loving Charlie and also fearing Charlie. And at first we don't know why that would be. But this is what this husband, whose name apparently I don't care about, said to Scully.
Steve. His name is Steve.
Steve.
Scully's like, I've got a great idea. Charlie should talk to a social worker.
True. You know what? For many reasons. His little brother just died traumatically in front of his face. So that's one great reason to see a social worker.
Maggie, of course, doesn't want a social worker involved. And I feel like, especially following the traumatic loss of a child, like I can understand where she could be coming from in terms of like, this is our situation. This is our family unit. While I like that, like Scully and Mulder like went back to the Holby house so Steve could have this grief. It's like, I need backup. She's not gonna like this guys.
Yeah.
Come with me.
They're just there to accompany.
Yeah, and Scully watches Golda put something into what she's cooking.
Scully asks her what it is, and Golda like fully answers, but we don't know if she's saying like "fuck you, white lady" or it's mugwort. Like we don't actually know what Golda is saying, but they leave. They try to leave. Is Charlie old enough to ride in the front seat? Yeah, I think so. He's like 9. He turns 10 at the end of the episode. So
I thought you're supposed to be 12 to ride in the front seat.
In the 90s though? Probably.
Oh, in the 90s, I guess it's just sort of like
whatever.
You could drive.
In the 80s, my parents drove with me to Florida in a station wagon where they put the back seats down and laid blankets out, and I just crawled around the whole ride in the back with my toys. So, that's how we lived.
I'm so stressed out, but also your parents probably had a much better time than I currently have driving my child about.
Yeah. Put your children in car seats. This is a joke, but I was going to say, is it more likely that you're going to get in an accident when your child is screaming for hours on end, buckled into a safety device, or when your child is happily playing, but not secured? Just give me the math.
I will say the screaming is not good for the driving, but we must persist with car seats. Unfortunately, the garage door will not open, and when he goes to investigate, Steve's tie gets caught in the garage door opener, which then retracts and hangs him to death. Chris Carter, somewhere off screen, is like, yeah, fucking yeah, because this is the image that was the seed of this episode. Chris Carter was like, I'd like an episode where somebody dies by hanging via a garage door opener.
And listen, I don't write television and whatever, but I just feel like maybe one of the issues here is that we are, instead of writing an episode for its plot line, and that plot line then gives us this death scene, we are starting with the death scene we want and building the plot around it. It just feels like maybe that order will be less conducive to a good story. Again, I'm not a television writer, but that is my
I think you might have a point.
Opinion.
But I also pity those who wrote television in the 22 to 25 episode season era.
Yes, that is also a very good point. I want to say that as a horror fan, when we went to the garage, I started chanting. Like, I had no control over my body. Like, we went into the garage and I just started chanting, garage door death, garage door death.
Oh my God.
Because truly, Listen, we all remember Rose McGowan in Scream.
Yeah.
We all remember.
mean-
There's many infamous garage door deaths, and I think that they're some of the most satisfying in the horror genre. So this one was less of that. This was more, what was the show where the lady got her scarf or whatever caught in the food processor, not the food processor, the fucking thing in the sink that goes around and around, you know, the thing?
Garbage disposal?
Garbage disposal, and she dies just being sucked down, like being strangled by the garbage disposal.
Is it Orphan Black?
Yes, Orphan Black. It is. Oh, that was good too. And this is more of that kind of death. It really doesn't have a lot to do with the garage door. It's really just a motor tie situation. Americans take about 20,000 breaths a day and spend an average of 90% of their time indoors. Get outside, you guys. But when you're inside, you should know that the indoor air that we breathe can be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air, according to the EPA. Indoor air pollutants can cause respiratory symptoms like sneezing and congestion, a scratchy throat, and even more serious health problems like lung and heart disease. Jenny, what are we going to do?
Fear not, Kristin. Introducing Air Doctor, the air purifier that filters out 99.99% of dangerous contaminants, so your lungs don't have to. This includes allergens, pollen, pet dander, dust mites, mold spores, and even bacteria and viruses.
Okay, great. Thank God, because really the first part of that had me very worried.
I know.
Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't love it, you just send it back for a refund minus the shipping. You just head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code X-Files Rewatch. That's with the E. eX-Files Rewatch. You'll get up to $300 off of their air purifiers.
Exclusive to podcast customers, you'll also receive a free 3-year warranty on any unit, which is an additional $84 value. Lock this special offer by going to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code EXFILESREWATCH. That's X-Files Rewatch.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Now, Charlie is so distraught. And LaToya brings this up in her notes too, that like essentially the cold open is kind of just a lie. Like it's kind of just a misleading lie because Charlie is just Charlie in those scenes too, but he's not upset at all. Like he's just like evil and whatever.
Well, it seems like there are two things happening, I think. Right? It seems like sometimes Michael exists outside of Charlie and drags the balloon around and bops the nurse on the head and leaves holy ash everywhere. And then sometimes Michael is just like
inside
possessing him or something.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
what do you think?
Yeah, sure. I was gonna say my only other reasoning was like he literally hated having a little brother, and so like he wasn't that upset about this. But he was more upset about his parents dying. My cousin Matthew, when his little brother Patrick was born, he was like 3, and he like picked him up out of the crib and hid him under my aunt's bed. Like literally just like hid the infant underneath the bed because he did not want it. The older siblings really struggle with the onset of a younger sibling, you know. I didn't do that. I was shitty, but I didn't actually hide my sister under a bed. Anyway,
it's almost as if the show doesn't care.
The cops are now there too because there's been a death in the house. And the cops, like Scully's like walking down the hallway and the cop is like, did you get a load of this? And like fucking points into Golda's room where candles are just actively burning everywhere in the room. And there are 2 rubber chickens. These do not look realistic at all. But there are 2 dead roosters.
There are 2 dead roosters.
2 dead roosters.
Meanwhile, outside, Golda is welcoming 3 Calusari guys as they get out of a car.
Meanwhile, Mulder is like trying to insert his own tie into the fucking motor. I'm like, what? He's just doing the same thing that just happened to Steve.
He's like, if I could just recreate the exact circumstances, no price is too high to solve a single X-File.
This is when he finds all of this black ash, and he's going to take this in to get sampled.
But before he can do that, the garage door repairs itself and opens maybe by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie, Golda, and the Calusari are outside, and Golda says, "Stay away from our house.
Get the fuck out of here," says Golda. God, rest in fucking peace, Golda. This lady is just trying to fucking protect people. Nobody will listen to her.
Okay. Here's something I love. Mulder's like, here's the chem lab analysis of the ash from the Holvy's house. And he hands her a graph that is just a flat horizontal line because there's no metal, no carbon, no oxygen, no nothing. Nothing organic, nothing inorganic. In fact, according to the technicians, he says, this ash doesn't exist.
Back to Chuck, the expert on enhancing and ash.
Yes.
Okay, so we go to the University of Maryland to see Chuck again, and he says, I haven't seen this since I was in India in 1979. It's called Vibhuti. Now, at this moment, Avanti hits pause, and she's like, this is, and explains to me. So Avanti was raised in a house, her father is Hindu, so she was raised in a house with Hindu practices. And she explained that this ash, Vibhuti, this is used in several different occasions in Hindu practice. Most practicing Hindus have this in their home for every prayer. For group prayers, which are called bhajans, you put some of this on your forehead. And she was laughing and she said, there's different ways of of putting it on. And she said, a lot of the old men will, you know what you do when you need to get salt out of something and you like lick your finger and put it in the salt so that the salt like sticks to your finger. She said, a lot of the old men, that's how they get the ash. They lick their fingers and put it in the ash, put it on their forehead. But she was saying this, and Sai Baba, who he's about to mention, is the Sai of their Hindu practice as well. So a little information from Avanti on Vibhuti, which I didn't even have to look up because she was right there as my live-in expert.
Incredible.
Now, let's hear their conversation about Vibhuti. Less for information, though we'll get some, and more for Smug Bitch to Smug Bitch out again, attempting to win the award.
It's called Vibhuti, holy ash. But technically, it's known as an apport, something that materializes out of thin air.
Wait a second, nothing just materializes out of thin air.
You've read the Bible? You remember the story about Jesus creating the loaves and the fishes?
Yeah, but that was a parable.
In 1979, I witnessed a guru named Sai Baba create an entire feast out of thin air.
Too bad you didn't take a picture. You could have run it through your computer and seen the entire Last Supper.
Vibhuti is created during the presence of spirit beings, or during bilocation, which is a phenomenon where a person's energy is transported to a different location.
That energy could have been what set off the garage door opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, or somebody activated the remote control.
Scully.
Mulder, so delighted.
He really is. He's shaking
by
her head.
Scully's Last Supper ref.
He's shaking his head at her like they have been married for like 10 years. You know, like, oh, here she goes again.
Yeah.
You know Dana.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to say we go to the house, and Charlie's at the door as the Calusari and Golda are doing the ritual. This blue smoke is fucking cool. I think this is awesome. I like it. A+.
If I was going to appear, if my image was going to appear in some smoke, I would want it to be smoke that looked like this.
Yeah, it's really, I thought it was really well done.
Terrible timing. Terrible timing when your mom is upstairs doing a ritual with some dead roosters and mystic smoke, while at the exact same moment the social worker arrives.
Yeah.
And just as she crosses the threshold, your young son cries out from upstairs where he has sort of like maybe passed out sweatily.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great timing. Also, sidebar, this house is so fucking nice. Like, this dude
This
works...
is what happens when you work at the State Department.
I don't think that is what happens when you work at the State Department, but, you know, if you work at the State Department, let us know. Do you have a wraparound staircase?
Also, I feel like maybe working at the State Department, let's just say that your dollar went a lot farther in 1995.
Yeah, that's true.
Than
There's
it does in
probably a lot of
2024.
different ways you can work at the State Department also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, he probably saves them a lot of money on the power bill by keeping his office incredibly dimly lit, and he might get some kind of kickback in his paycheck.
Yeah, they would have just had a straight up normal staircase if his lights were on full blast all the time.
That's right.
So, Golda. So the ritual is happening. The social worker and this is Karen Kossoff and Charlie and Maggie are all upstairs outside the door. The door opens. We see the ritual. And Maggie has had enough. This is her breaking point, and she tells them all to get out of her house. The Calusari look at her like, are you sure? Because I don't think you should. But they respect her orders, and they leave. And she tells her mother to get out of the house. She said she's had enough. Golda takes Charlie into the room, closes the door, and starts to try to get him to let her pierce his palm for this protection ritual that she's doing. Right, she's really trying to really get the evil out of him. Jenny, I pulled the sound clip because it made me laugh so hard. Karen is losing her mind. Let's hear what she says as she runs out of the Colby house towards Scully and Mulder, who have just pulled up.
Agent Scully, your grandmother's taken the child. She's locked him in the room with her. She may have a knife. I've called 911.
What happened?
There were 3 strange men. They were performing some kind of ritual.
She's so upset. This is not what she signed up for. She signed up to come over and do an analysis, not to see a child get taken into a room where a ritual was she's really, really out of her element.
It does feel like X-Files are above or perhaps below her pay grade. Yeah. Okay, so in the room, Gold is like, it's the only way. As she tries again to pierce Charlie's hand, but he dodges, and then Charlie, or not, says in Romanian, translated by LaToya Ferguson, "You are too late to stop us," and hucks the roosters down at Golda's face. They come alive?
Yeah.
And they kill her? ? Almost instantly? ?
I think she has a heart attack while they peck her eyes out. Pretty rough way to go.
And wouldn't you?
Yes, 100%.
Same.
If I'm only 43 and in pretty good health, that I would still die of a heart attack if two roosters who had just been dead were alive and then poking my eyes out.
If you were examining a crime scene dusted in holy ash, would you go around sniffing the contents of various glass containers that you find there?
I wouldn't have known to do it, but at this point I will have seen the X-Files, so I will know how to handle a crime scene. And sniffing everything is one of the top
huge part of the job.
Yeah. So Charlie/Michael stares at Mulder before he starts his sniffing, which is, it's like even if Michael didn't recognize him from the hospital room later, Michael really has clocked Mulder one way or another. Charlie doesn't remember anything after the incident, and Mulder thinks the, quote, old woman was actually trying to protect them. Only took you 35 to 40 minutes of the episode, but and for her to die by roosters pecking at her eyes, but great job. Maggie is screaming at the Calusari, who haven't left yet. She's not interested in their superstition, but then she's there to explain to Mulder and Scully what the Calusari do. So when I looked up the Calusari, I did not find this. I found information about a Romanian secret society. It didn't seem like this was the exact vibe, so I'm not sure, but it seems like maybe a little bit of finagling.
Oh, so you would say some creative liberties were taken?
Maybe a little bit. But in this episode, Maggie explains that in Romania, the Calusari are responsible for the correct observance of sacred rites. And the thing that they said to her before they left was, "It's not over. The evil is still here. This house is not clean, okay? It is not clean. We need somebody to make it clean." And she sent them away. Mulder's like,
"Oh, he said the evil's still here. I gotta talk to this guy immediately." And he goes, running after this guy. Unsatisfyingly, this guy who appears to be like the head Calusari dude is like, "The evil that's here has always been. It's called by different names. Cain, Lucifer, Hitler, Kristin."
Wow.
Whatever.
Wow. Fucking wow. It doesn't care if it kills one boy or a million men. And if you try to stop us, Mulder, the blood will be on your hands.
One boy, a million men, sons of fathers, fathers of sons.
You know, and Emily St. James's review, it's sort of like, I feel like the review sort of sets it up like this means that Cain and Lucifer and Hitler all had like evil twins, but I feel like it's just the idea of evil. Like, I don't think, maybe in the case of Charlie and Michael, there was this death and that is the form that the evil is taken, but I didn't really read this as like all of the evil is rooted in an evil twin. But this is the piece that could be really interesting to investigate, and the show really isn't here to do that. If this episode was really the Calusari, we would have gotten a lot more information from the Calusari, you know? Yeah. So in the living room, Maggie's having doubts because her mom is now dead, and she really thought that this was her mom's fault. She said her mom used to always say that evil follows evil, and she used to think that that was a superstition, but now she doesn't know what to believe.
Yeah.
She says the line that every mother of a horror-induced child has ever said. She thought somehow Charlie was responsible, but he's just a little boy. Somewhere Eve 11 and Eve 12 are giggling with their fucking sodas.
Yep. Digitalising it up. So Scully's like, I think we need to talk to Charlie. Scully's plan is always for someone to talk to Charlie, which is probably good.
Yeah. I stand by that.
During the course of the interview that follows, Charlie tells Karen he doesn't remember anything. He wasn't in his grandmother's room. He didn't hurt her. It was Michael.
Maggie is like, what the fuck?
Kristin, the way that she's like, we never told him. It was agreed upon. It was our secret. It's like it's very.
It is very, very. Also, again, this is why a Romanian translator would have been so helpful, because Golda could have told you all of this so many days ago. And maybe nobody would have believed Golda except for Mulder, which is why Mulder's in charge of the X-Files.
Yeah, the thing is that, like, sometimes he gets in his own stupid little way. He's so busy calling her the old woman and disrespecting her that he didn't think for one fucking second that if he just got a translator, he would like be hitting the richest vein of X-Files gold he's ever imagined.
Yeah, X-Files Golda, you know? Okay, then Charlie starts seizing. We go to the hospital, or we're in the hospital, but we go to a different part of the hospital. He's in bed. The worst nurse you've ever encountered in your life comes in. First
of all, her last name is Castor.
So I suppose this is part of the point. But yeah, Nurse Castor is like, rips the curtain back and is like, hi, I'm here to give you a fucking shot because you wouldn't fucking take your medicine. So shut the fuck up and sit still. It's like essentially your energy.
Simply not how it's supposed to go.
No. Michael appears in the corner. And so now this is where we don't ask questions. We're not going to ask questions. But it is interesting to me that about 40 minutes into the episode, suddenly we can see Michael. Because Michael was not visible. We had to use enhance to see the fucking thing before. But the nurse sees him. Soon Scully will see him. We're all seeing him now. Fine.
Yep.
Michael.
Maybe he's gaining power.
Clocks her on the back of the fucking head with like an IV trolley or whatever you call those. And then he goes out. Then here is where you could never beat the tiny child smug bitch. You just can't. This fucking smug bitch walks out to the waiting room and is like, Mommy, the doctor said I could go home now. She's like, maybe we should ask the doctor. No, let's just go home now. And I love Maggie because Maggie is immediately like, yep, absolutely. Fucking great idea. We're going home. We're doing whatever the fuck you say because you're definitely evil and not my son. I mean, I guess sort of is my son, but the evil version of my son.
Yeah. Back at home in the kitchen, she's like, have some delicious soup. While she desperately futzes about in drawers looking for what she needs to take upstairs. And he's like, can we go to the park? She's like, sure. And he's like, can I have a balloon? And she's like, okay, sure, whatever. And he's like, can we ride the train? What a little fucker.
Yeah, he's a real smug fucking bitch. She's laying it on thick. So she burns 3 matches upstairs, and again, we're not given the translation of what she's asking, but matches, when you've lit them and you drop them into water, they are buoyant. They float. So
buoyant.
They're buoyant. Buoyant. And these 3 sink, which means that what she's asked is confirmed. And I think she has asked, is that smug bitch downstairs the evil twin? And is he going to try to kill us all?
But just as they sink, who should appear in the doorway but her smug little demon child? What are you doing, Mommy?
Avanti at this point screamed, he brought the wind, because like the wind is just like blowing full force down the hallway. Okay, back at the hospital, Scully sees them leave and they run up to the bed, but Charlie, of course, is still there. Nurse shit show is on the floor. And she's like, no, there were 2 boys. And so Mulder's like, I'm going to stay here. Okay. I'm going to stay here. I'll deal with it. You, Scully, you just go to the house. You deal with that. But I'm like, in what world do you send Scully by herself to go to the house where you know a fucking demon child is like floating around? Anyway.
No, I know.
Also,
I know.
Jenny, how did Mulder reach the Calusari? My one guess was 1-800-Calusari.
Calusari. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm pretty sure it's actually 1-800-THE-EVIL.
The evil, like THEEVIL or an extra E.
Yeah. And then it's like dash, that dash, has dash, always dash, been. But you know how sometimes companies will like they'll add a couple letters to like finish spelling what they needed to spell, knowing that people will like get through the numbers that make up a phone number and just the call will be connected.
Ooh, but 1-800-THE-EVIL actually is exactly right. 7.
I know,
yeah.
but then you have 1-800-THE-EVIL that has always been.
Yes, great. You just keep punching. You're actually still punching numbers when the Calusari are like, hello? Hello?
They actually are opening the door. They're like, yes.
Okay, so let's do exorcism first and Beetlejuice second, I guess.
They're doing the exorcism and dude is like, Mulder's like staring at his face and the dude is like, don't look at his face. It'll recognize you.
Also, Mulder is... I feel like Mulder has been like waiting his whole life to be up close and personal to like a paranormal moment. And Mulder looks exactly like I would look if the Calusari said, come in, can you hold his feet? Like he's like, no. He's like sweating. He does not like it at all.
Well, look, there can be a wide chasm between, fantasy and reality.
Yes. Yeah, that is exactly what is happening here. So he's holding the kid's legs and there's yellow like wax or oil like dripping down the walls. I'm thinking about the hospital staff. A, how do they not understand that an exorcism is happening in this room? And B, what are they going to think happened in here when they get here next?
Well, maybe, but when it ends, all that will remain is holy ash.
I don't know. Looked pretty sticky in there, even after it was done. The bed
Doesn't
floats.
sound like
That's
any of my business.
The bed floats during the exorcism. That is a direct pull from, of course, The Exorcist. And I'm thinking at this point, maybe Mulder is freaking out because he realizes that when the neck spins and the pea soup shoots out, he's in direct range of the pea soup. He's thinking about The Exorcist right now. And this is effective for me. This is effective. The Charlie's like teeth are black and he's speaking in Romanian and they got some of his blood and they're using like a feather to put the symbol on his body to protect Charlie while they exorcise Michael.
Yeah.
It's all very like,
he says it hurts and Mulder's like, ugh, and lets his ankles go.
Yeah.
And Calusari guy's like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I thought you fucking up here.
I thought you saw The Exorcist. That's like one of the more terrifying elements of The Exorcist, I think, that I remember. Obviously, like the whole possession, but just the trickery of the evil within and like how in that possession it is possible for her to convince people to do things even though they clearly know that she's evil. It's just repeat it as many times as you need to. I will always be freaked the fuck out. So back at the house, Scully opens the door and the windows blow out.
Happens. Occupational hazard.
I don't know if you'll hear me say it this time, Jenny, but Maggie is up the wall like Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice. And she is a fucking boss. She's like up there and she's still doing the chanting. She's still doing what she needs to do to like keep this shit under control. Scully
Proud of
is
you, Maggie.
Terrified. Scully is so scared. She has her little flashlight and she's like, oh, she's like the kid at the campfire. The flashlight like under her chin.
She's not even like touching her cross or our fathering or anything.
Yeah.
Shocking stuff.
She gets tossed. She almost gets tossed out the fucking window. If Michael had...
Is this what young people call getting yeeted?
I'm sorry, getting whatted?
Yeeted?
Where did you learn this? Are you allowed to say this on our podcast? What is yeeted?
Yeet. It's in the Cambridge Dictionary.
And what does it mean?
To throw something with a lot of force.
Oh, and
he just grabbed my phone and yeeted it into the river.
Where did you hear this when you say the kids would say it?
Like Instagram. The internet.
Okay, so Scully gets yeeted. Oh my God. Why do you make us engage with this? It only makes us sound ancient. Yeeted, she said.
I think it's a fun word to say.
It is. It's just like we're never going to say it right, you know?
Especially used to emphasize forcefulness and a lack of concern for the thing being thrown. That's extremely accurate for what happens to Scully here.
It is.
She gets yeeted. Sheesh.
So Michael is speaking maybe through Maggie, but then is manifested into the room, picks up a knife, comes above Scully's body. And at that moment, the ritual in the hospital is completed and the knife clatters to the ground. Mulder and the Calusari have saved Maggie and Scully. Thank God. All of the men have saved all of the women.
Hallelujah. Also, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I was just doing a little more investigation and I wanted to let you know that on urbandictionary.com, the first usage example is Shrek, the ogre.
I do know Shrek.
Proceeded to yeet Jacob after he went in his swamp.
All right. I'm not opposed to yeet. I'm just opposed to how I feel like I'm saying it wrong. So I'm dating myself, you know?
Aha. While I was not listening to you and continuing to Google yeet, I came across something published by the University of Colorado Boulder's Department of Linguistics titled To Yeet or Not to Yeet, African American Slang Beyond Vine. The combination of language and gesture in yeet vines may help us understand how African American slang becomes incorporated into the lexicons and identities of non-African American speakers.
Okay, so there's more to unpack underneath this. For now, Jenny, can I tell you about Mulder's poetry at the end of the episode?
Oh, can I tell you about Mulder's poetry, actually?
Fine. I did ask first, but yes.
Okay, after things are wrapped up and the head Calusari tells Mulder, it's over for now, but you must be careful. It knows you. Mulder is clickety-clacking away, typing up a little field report for Skinner. The strange case of Charlie Holby and the deaths that occurred during his possession by a dark and malevolent force are unsolved. The boy, who will celebrate his 10th birthday next month, remains under the watchful care of his mother, and though I believe him innocent of the crimes, I am disturbed by the warnings of the Calusari that neither innocence nor vigilance may be protection against the howling heart of evil. The howling heart of evil.
I would pay admission to watch Skinner's face while he reads this field report.
Forsooth.
What does that mean?
Let me just look it up on Urban Dictionary. Indeed. It means indeed.
Great. Because Mulder says nothing. He's like, so there's a boy and some evil, and nothing is solved. But here's a poem. Goodbye.
Yeah. Mulder said there is a rare vintage in my basement. Would you like to taste it? Follow me right this way.
All right. Well, we did it. 21 in, 4 to go. And then we'll be careening into season 3.
Good gravy.
Yeah, which is a whole other adventure, so I hear.
It is. It will be. I'm so excited for season 3. I'm really pumped. There are so many thrills on the horizon, Kristin, and I can't wait to enjoy them. Now, although it has been suggested that time is not linear and that perhaps all things are happening at one time and, the multiverse and we here on the podcast are inextricably tethered to a linear timeline. We can only go in one direction. It's forward through time. Therefore, here at the end of our discussion of the episode, almost, I must pause, open a side door. It's one of those doors that's like from a farm, or something, where it's like bottom. The top half opens, bottom half opens. I'm opening the top half, and from deep within, a beautiful glow issues forth, amethyst in color. Kristin, your eyebrows raised slightly, indicating interest, curiosity.
I'm in here.
A desire to know more.
I'm in here.
No, I'm leading you, much as Mulder.
Oh, you're taking me to my crystal ball. What are you, the father of a daughter?
I'm the father of a daughter, and the time has come. In every daughter's life, a time must come where she must answer the call of her own crystal ball. So let's do it.
Kristin's crystal ball, she can see it all. What's coming down the pike, I'm sure she'll get it right.
I'm so sorry to say this, but thank you, Daddy.
You don't sound sorry.
You know who's sorry is LaToya, because how dare you threaten her status as pod daddy.
How dare anyone?
Jenny, I'm happy to be in my crystal ball. I haven't been here in a while, and I actually have a double whammy of content for you, none of which is what the crystal ball was initially intended for, which is predictions. But, I'll get there when I get there. But
also, it's okay for things to evolve.
It is. It is. I have 2 emails, both from our last episode, Humbug. And then I've been having crazy dreams lately, and 2 of them specifically, I have not told you, my best friend, Jenny Owen Youngs, because I've wanted to tell my good friends here in the Buffering Rewatch Adventure listenership. So if you think you have it in you, I've got 2 emails and 2 dreams to report. And I will let you choose the order, Jenny. Either I can go email, dream, dream. I can go email, dream, dream. What's your poison?
Email, dream.
Okay. My first email is from sister of a FBI agent, one of our favorite sources out there, our own Deep Throat, if you will, who writes in, I asked my sister the question about attending funerals, about FBI agents attending funerals, because I said in Humbug, how many times have Mulder and Scully just rolled up into a funeral? And this is what sister / former FBI agent said. I've known cops that have done that, and I'm sure some agents have done that too. It's actually a good way to establish familial links and friendships and associations. But since we would be gathering intelligence, it would be done covertly. So
So you wouldn't wear matching trench coats to a service?
You wouldn't. You would try to blend in, though I can't imagine how Mulder and Scully would have possibly attempted to blend in at this particular funeral. And also additional information from Sister FBI, who also said the cops that I knew who went to funerals worked the drug and gang cases because they knew that a funeral gathering was an appealing target for a rival gang. Our listener said, I said that was probably the most movie-like thing I've ever heard from her about real life. So we're going to keep our questions coming as we have them. Okay, now, Jenny, I will ask you, do you want first the Ted Danson dream, or do you want the Ryan Seacrest dream?
Ryan Seacrest, please.
Okay, so this is the most recent of the 2. A few nights ago, I dreamt that I got forced to be a part of a Santa dress-up part of a party. I didn't want to be dressing up as any member of Santa's crew, but I had to. And when I was given my costume and I put it on, I realized it was the costume from The Handmaid's Tale, except for instead of it just being like drab red and like off-white, it was like sequiny red and sequiny green and sequiny silver. And I was so hot in the costume and I kept losing my phone everywhere. And there were all these children everywhere that were like swarming me. And the actual Santa never showed up. And then Ryan Seacrest was there to take my photo in my costume. Then I found my friend in an elevator and she took me to another party, but it was super fancy. And so I got there and everyone was having cocktails around a koi pond. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And I took my handmaiden's costume off so that I wouldn't be an embarrassment at the fancy party.
But so the sequins weren't fancy enough?
Yeah, I think it was just like, I was like, I'm clearly in a costume and everyone here is wearing like whatever rich people wear, you know? So that was my one. I'm good. And you did them in the right order because I think the Ted Danson one is even more insane.
All right.
But before we get there, an email from Lorena, who we know and love, one of our beloved listeners. Yes. Lorena writes, "Hello, Kristin and Jenny. It is I, Lorena, your resident Terra cosplayer, book climber, and circus expert. If you didn't know this about me before, I was a professional circus performer for nearly a decade."
What?
Yes. Lorena was still touring full time when this podcast started, as a matter of fact. Lorena says, "I was in general excited by all of your research into sideshow, circus, and real-life performers featured in this episode, but I thought I'd let you know that your internet sleuthing left some gaps to the term rube in specific terms of circus and show folks' life. In the circus, a rube specifically refers to a townie/customer/non-circus person who is a potential troublemaker or threat. When I joined the circus in 2010, I was taught this by the more senior members of Clown Alley, and that if I was ever in an altercation or made to feel unsafe by a townie, I should scream, 'Hey, rube,' to signify a fight. It's like a battle cry to all circus folks within earshot to come running and help. Just some insider circus knowledge for you."
Whoa.
So amazing. I know.
Who knew,
Lorena? I don't know. It's like part of me feels like somehow maybe I had the information that you were a circus performer in your past, but I lost that information to my goldfish tank, as most things. Okay, Jenny, I hope that these dreams are worth it for you. I'm going to tell you my Ted Danson dream now.
I'm having a good time.
Okay. So this is from a while ago. I've been waiting since the end of August to tell you about this dream.
Oh my goodness.
I had a dream that I was Ted Danson's assistant, and he had us riding a bus that it was a bus where you could hire a sex worker to come back to your hotel with you. But all of the sex workers were like food based. So there was a girl with like a lot of whipped cream, but also a girl with like a lot of ears of corn on her costume. The girl that was riding the bus was the one with the corn. And Ted Danson got off at his hotel and he said he wanted a different girl sent to his room because he did not like the corn girl and I needed to handle it. So the shitty boss guy was going to fire the corn girl and I flipped out and I was like, you do not fire her because Ted Danson didn't want to have sex with her. That's insane. And I made this whole speech. And so he dismissed her for the night, but he didn't fire her. And the rest of the bus cheered because she hadn't lost her job. I felt bad for her still. And so as she left, I said, hey, fuck Ted Danson. And by that, I mean, don't fuck Ted Danson, which cheered her up. And she left. And then I realized that Ted Danson had never left the bus and he heard the whole thing. And he was like, what the fuck? You're doing a horrible job. And I was like, I'm doing a great job. And I'm sorry that you had to see that. But I just made her feel better, something you don't seem to care about. And then I woke up.
What's going on over there?
I don't know.
Do you think?
My sister is usually like, oh, let me look that up. And I don't know if you could tell, but I was reading both of those dreams because I immediately text my sister my dreams when I wake up because otherwise you lose all the details. And both of those dreams, she was like, I am not sure how to look anything up about these dreams. So, you know, if you have any thoughts about Ted, I all respect to Ted Danson. I'm sure he's a lovely man who would never, ever hurt the feelings of a corn-themed sex worker. But
I hope not. I should hope not.
I don't know, but I was the hero of my dream in that story.
Wow. You're reminding me of pornography.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that somehow, in case you missed it, back in season 4 of our coverage of Buffy, we watched a clip from a Trolls or Trolls 2 or Trolls 57. I don't know what it was, but
it was Troll 2.
Trolls 2. It was
Trolls singular 2, I believe.
Troll, sorry. Anyway, there was some porn, and I'm sure that it just simply lives rent-free in my brain at all times. It could enter any dream at any moment with no warning. Anyway, if you enjoy learning about my wild dreams inside of this crystal ball, let me know, because I'm sure that by the next time we tape, or at least 2 times from now, I'll have at least one more wild dream to share with you. But keep your emails coming. And if we're having fun in this part of the season. I don't know if there are any predictions to make right now, but if you ever need one, you know where to find me. crystalball@bufferingcast.com.
I'm just agog.
Jenny is scandalized, or not scandalized. I guess agog is the right word. Yeah.
I just feel overloaded. I feel like I've seen and heard and know too much.
Maybe 2 dreams at once is too much. Maybe I'll limit it to 1 dream from now on.
Okay, for my safety.
Yeah. It's hard for me to keep things from my best friend,
I know how that goes, because I feel the same way. It's hard for me to keep things from my best friend, but it's actually quite easy for me to keep things from my good friend.
Yeah. Jenny, we fucked up last episode. We did not name the smuggest bitch. So we actually have two smug bitches to name, one from Humbug and one from this episode, the Calusari.
We think that the smuggest bitch of Humbug is the conundrum after he has had his little midnight snack.
Yeah. I did nominate for honorable mention Darren Morgan for writing this script so smugly and bitchily to make Mulder / David Duchovny the butt of every joke.
Imagine going through your whole life looking like that.
And then, of course, I mean, the Calusari, we've got twins, folks. You can't have twins where one or both are evil and not have them be nominated and win the smug bitch category. So, Michael, congratulations. You have taken smug bitch this week. Honestly, I think probably if there's just twins and they're not even evil, they'll win. It's just sort of built into the system. Yeah.
They know something we don't, which gives them an immediate edge.
Okay, so I think we did it.
I think we did it. Kristin, I'm Jenny Owen Youngs.
You don't have any twins, do you?
That's none of your business.
Wow.
And when I'm not watching the X-Files or Buffy, I'm usually either hanging out with my twin or
that's why I'm not
music.
Your best friend, because you have to make your twin your best
it's
friend.
It's hard to cut into that kind of connection. Yeah. My latest album is called Avalanche. And in fact, I just released a B-side from it very recently called Someone's X. You can listen to Avalanche and its B-side, Someone's X, wherever you stream music. You could also find Avalanche in your local independent record store on CD and vinyl, or by going to jennyowenyoungs.com. And listen, find me on socials if you dare. If you think you have what it takes, find me at Jenny Owen Youngs.
I don't know if you know this about me, Jenny, but I actually am someone's ex. So
I didn't know. This is news to me.
News to you, yeah. So the title of that song really resonates with me. It seems like it would be appealing to my best interests.
Check the math on that.
My name is Kristin Russo, and when I'm not desperately trying to get Jenny Owen Youngs to slip just once in saying that I'm her best friend or watching lots of 90s television, I am often working with and for LGBTQ plus communities. My most recent publication, A Quick and Easy Guide to Coming Out, is now out. The book itself came out, so very meta stuff happening there.
Did it take any of its own advice?
It did. I hope it took all of it. So you can find that, anywhere books are sold. You can learn more about me and my work and that book or other books that I've written or will soon publish. at KristinNoeline.com. That's KristinNoeline. And if you have trouble working up the courage to visit Jenny on socials, you can start with me.
Warm up with the easy stuff.
Warm up with the good friend to make your way to the best friend at Kristin Noeline.
Buffering a Rewatch Adventure is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BufferingCast. You can drop us an email at hello@bufferingcast.com or write to the Crystal Ball at crystalball@bufferingcast.com.
You can support our work. We would love it if you did, actually, on our Patreon, a very active place where, in fact, we are 2 days away from beginning our coverage of Yellow Jackets' second season. Okay, it's going to be a good time. We've got curated movie watches all throughout the season, starring our favorite Yellow Jackets characters. So buckle up for Casper and Natural. Somebody was like, I can't believe that you're beginning your movie watches with Casper and ending on Natural Born Killers. Like, what a fucking spectrum.
The circle of life.
It is, truly. So join us there, patreon.com/bufferingcast.
This episode was produced by Kristin Russo, Jenny Owen Youngs, and LaToya Ferguson, with support from our consultant, Mackenzie McDade. It was edited by John Mark Nelson. Until next time, the status of this X-File is sitting in kindergarten, learning about wind.
Welcome to Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode. It's a brand new fantasy series that uses tabletop role-playing games to tell an ever-evolving story. Get ready for action, adventure, and weird little monsters. Set in the mysterious world of Sundaros, Goblin Mode follows a group of underdogs, or should I say, underlings, working for a dark overlord, until they find themselves in charge for once. Join Game Master Amy Vorpal as she leads players Danielle Radford, Dan Casey, and Jason Wynn on an adventure unlike anything you've experienced before. Who will live? Who will die? Sagas of Sundry, Goblin Mode. The adventure begins September 9th. Join Geek and Sundry and Realm for Sagas of Sundry Goblin Mode. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.